Alrighty now, and just when you thought it couldn't get any colder down here in Philly, it got colder. Definitely cold, man. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Franklin Janelle. Thank you for being here in this new video. If you are passing by, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button so the channel can grow and we can bring more content to people and we can talk about the things that we love, which is making movies and things like that. If you notice that I'm a bit excited today, well, I am excited because I am alive. The Lord gave me life today, but it's cold, and you know, the cold does something to me. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a great day, a good time wherever you're at. I hope you are doing well. Thank you once again for being here. It is Friday, January 10 as of the filming of this video, and I hope to bring it out, as soon as possible. I don't like to keep people waiting. That's one of the things why I get rehired by people, is because when I am given a project, I edit it right away. I don't wait 2 years. But that's another video for another topic. Let me not get ahead of myself. So, in this short video, and trust me, I try to make these videos short, so I don't want to keep you guys too much in here. We're going to talk about analyzing a script, what to look for. And I have here, as you can see, I mentioned this is an actual script, by the way, that it's written, and there's more pages, but I spoke with the producer, who also happens to be a friend of mine's, and I asked him if he could give me permission to just read some of the beginning lines of the first page, just to bring something of value to the filmmaking community, which I'm sure by now you all know this, but it's always good to be a refresher of things to look for in a script. Now, I'm going to be speaking from a director's point of view and also a cinematographer point of view, because I do both, among other things. But feel free to comment on the section below. What do you also look for in a script? If you are a director, if you are a cinematographer, if you are an actor, what do you look for? And this is why a script is so important, because a script is, in a sense, the reason why we're all in this, not just in a project, but in the industry. We can't work without a script. We need a script, and we need a good script. We need good stories to be told. And also, for the sake of order, is why we have scripts, because that way nobody is on set freestyling or improvising, although there are times where creative freedom is necessary and important, but we all have to know what we are going for and why we are showing up on set. And that's what a script is for. Now, this is actually a project that I'm actually going to be working on, Lord willing, this year. So the reason I asked the producer if I could read a little bit is because I didn't write this. So I didn't want to write something and then feel, oh, I wrote this, so it's not the same. Plus, I want to be authentic with you guys. So I said, let me review this, since I'm going to work on it. So I'm going to read just the intro, just 3 little paragraphs. I'm not going to mention the character's name, due to the non-disclosure agreement. And that can also change too. The character's name may change. But I am going to read just the beginning. And I will tell you then what I'm looking for from a director's point of view and from a cinematographer's point of view, and how this actually helps in storytelling. So, without further ado, let's read a little bit. Interior. Let me say that again. Interior Medical Detention Center. So we already know that this is in a medical detention center. Now we have the location. So right there, we already know we need to look for a medical detention center. Now we have to go online and look for location centers that have to do with stuff like this. There are many platforms that help out with this. Sometimes you may know people, sometimes even local hospitals or clinics. If you can speak with the person in charge and make a deal with them, sometimes they'll let you volunteer and do that. They'll just ask for you to get credit. But we already know that it is in a medical detention center. And here's the action. Now, this guy, my friend of mine's, he's very poetic when he writes. Sometimes I'll tell him, dude, just write and just say what we need to see on screen. But he does always mean it in a good way. The cold, sterile walls of the psychiatric facility loom large. We hear the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the shuffling of patients down the corridor. The camera pans slowly down. He's telling me how to do my work. It's like that. Stopping at a single door marked with a patient number 293. And then it says the character's name, which I'm not going to say. So-and-so sits on her bed, staring out of a barred window, lost in thought. Her room is sparsely furnished, a bed, a small desk with papers. She's writing something in a journal, her hand shaking slightly as she scribbles down her thoughts. And then there's a voiceover, which of course I'm not going to read. She closes out the journal and exhales deeply. As she stands up to stretch, there's a common motion down the hall. Raised voices echo through the corridor. And that's it. I'm not going to read more, but this is what I told him I was going to read. So, we know that this is in a medical detention center. This is a individual. So we know that it's dealing with psychiatric activities. Now, notice this sentence. We hear the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the shuffling of patients down the corridor. Now, from a sound design perspective or from an editing perspective, depending on who's doing who, but since we're all indie here, at least the majority of us, we have no studio backing us up, but our own pockets and probably the credit union down the street. I'm sorry. We hear the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. So there's two ways you can go about that. Well, first of all, you have to film the fluorescent lights. If there is none in that place, you can probably use stock footage. But in most cases, if there are fluorescent lights and you will film it the way this is written, then you will film that. But then you also have to capture the sound of the fluorescent lights. Those zzz, those kind of things. If you can't capture that, you can look up on a sample library, for example. There are many sample libraries out there that you can purchase that have a lot of sounds that are helpful to telling your project. I mean, the last thing we want is a dull indie film where the sound is not good. And by sound, I don't just mean the dialogue. I mean, if you see fluorescent lights, like it says here, fainting, the buzz, whatever, and there's no sound to that, that looks a bit fake. And that already is like, okay. But adding that sound makes a huge difference. Then it says, the camera pans slowly. Now, you don't always have to follow this, but the camera pans slowly, and it says we're going to stop at a single door marked with a patient number 293. So we need to get that, because when we go into in this individual's room, this shot actually makes sense. It establishes where we're going to and where we're heading. So that's important. Then it says her room is furnished, a bed, small desk. Now it says she's writing something in a journal, her hand shaken slightly as she scribbled down her thoughts. So right there, from a cinematography point of view, of course, I will look at that and I'll say, okay, so I want to capture whatever it is that she's writing. We don't have to see the words. We can just see her writing. So maybe a mid close-up, something like that. Not too close, but a mid close-up. But definitely where it says her hand shaken slightly. That's a very important detail that you don't want to dismiss in cinematography. You want to capture her hand shaken slightly. There's a reason why her hands are shaking. It doesn't tell us here. You'll get that more down the way if you read the script or when you see the movie when it comes out. But there's a reason for that. And you have to capture that shaking in her hand. How you're going to light that, what lens, that's all up to your creative decision. It depends on the room, the location. Do you have enough space to light a certain way? If the space is tight, how you're going to light it. This all affects your lens choice and your lighting. So that's very important to keep in mind. Then it says, after the voiceover, which I'm not going to read, the voiceover is what she writes. It says she closes out the journal and exhales deeply. So that has to be captured. The journal is closed. She exhales deeply. As she stands up to stretch, there's a commotion from down the hall. Raised voices echo through the corridor. So people raising their voice, something happening. And then that's where her attention is drawn. And that's as much as we're going to get today, because I don't want to read too much. But you notice how just in these first 3 paragraphs of here, there's already a lot to work with. Now, from a director point of view, the actress that I'll be working with, I already know what to expect from her. So I know what emotions I want her to give. She is shaken slightly as she writes down her thoughts. She exhales deeply, etc., etc. So these are all indications of where to move. Now, this is where a director, a cinematographer, an actor, this is where they come together to figure out how this that's on paper is going to come to reality. How you're going to get the sound of her writing down. Do you want to get that sound? If you want to get like the sound of her writing with her pen or pencil, whatever it is, that also is important. Is it necessary for this script? Is it going to work? That's what the creative team is for. That's why the director communicates with the cinematographer, with the sound person. That's what that's all for. And again, this is just a little bit. So this is the beauty of making film. This is the beauty of doing narrative work, because we get to think. We have to figure out a solution to get this. This is what I like about movies. I love the whole process of actually making a movie. Short or feature, doesn't matter. It's like building something from scratch and bringing it to life. This was an idea in the producer, and he also wrote it. This was an idea in his head, and now we have to bring that to life. Now we have to figure out ways. Now we have to find a location. Now we have to find the people, and so forth. There's so many ways that this can go about. I mean, you can give this script, or at least this portion of the script that I just described to you, and every director or every cinematographer will do it in a different way, because it will be in a different location, different actors. The editing will be different. I mean, there's just so much directions that this can go. And again, this is the beauty of filmmaking. This is why I love doing this. So you tell me, how would you go about this? How would you say, if you're a cinematographer and you read, she's writing down her thoughts, her hand shaking slightly as she scribbles, she's looking, staring out of a barred window. How would you go about that? And that's the thing. As soon as I start seeing this, I start to see things in my head. But how would you do it? If you're a director, what emotions do you want from the actress or actor that will display these emotions? Remember, this character is in a psychiatric medical detention center, so we know that something is a bit cuckoo with her. So that already ought to give you an indication. Now, how would you direct that? How would you go about that? Comment on the section below. I love to hear your thoughts. So yeah, this is the beauty. This is the fun of making films. This is how we get together and tell a story. Now, sometimes I do changes. I don't always go by what's written down exactly, but if I see that everything looks good, then, you know, I go with it. But most of the times I impart my own creative choices. I'm not changing the story. That's actually one of the trust that I have with the producer, and he knows that if I'm going to do any changes, whether it's going to be adding something that was not in the scene, taking something away that was in the scene, there's nothing personal. It's just to tell this story to the best that could be told with the people that we have, the location that we have, the equipment that we have, and with the budget that we have. Wouldn't you agree? Thanks for watching. I love to be here more time with you, trust me. But tell me in the comments below, how would you do certain things? And if you'd like me to read some of your scripts, or at least some pages, and give you an idea of how I would do it, you could write to me. No questions asked, no fees charged, nothing. Just, you know, write me at my email, and I'll do the best to get back at you. But thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a great day, a great evening, wherever you're at. You know, you may be on the other side of the world. A good morning, a good start of your day. And stay tuned for more videos that I'll be working on. Thank you. Take care.